that real quick and go ahead and get started. Everyone, my name is Sean Bettaplace. I am in the great state of Wisconsin. I am the campaigns director for the Main Street Alliance, and super excited to be able to partner up with Small Business Administration today for our webinar about updates to SBA programming and whatnot. And just want to say, first off, I started with the Main Street Alliance about 4 years ago, and that was the height of the pandemic. And at the time, through the CARES Act, through the American Rescue Plan, there was legislation passed that helped to save small businesses all across our country. That doesn't mean that there weren't hiccups, that there weren't challenges, but it does mean that a lot of folks worked very, very hard to make sure that folks could keep the doors open, that they could keep their staff employed, and that they're able to, grow today into the businesses that they are. And so as an organization, we're working hard to make sure you have a seat at the table, to be able to talk with key decision makers and to be able to get good information on how it impacts your business. I don't have to tell you that the last few years have had highs and lows, but we want to make sure that you know how to access the tools necessary for your business. And so again, thank you to the SBA today, through Thomas Caird, through the whole outreach team that was really essential to putting this together, and to our speakers, which is Kendall Corley, who's the Deputy Chief of Staff, Stacy Posey, Senior Advisor for Capital Access, Francisco Sanchez, Disaster Assistance Chief, and Sky Borg, who's a Senior Advisor for Investing in America. We're going to have ample time for Q&A on the tail end of this session as well. And really just want to make sure that you have the tools and the things that you need to be able to run the business the way you want to. That said, I'm happy to pass it off to Richard Trent. Richard is our new executive director. He started about 6 weeks ago. Oh, well, sorry, about 3 months ago now. Time passes fast. And he comes with just a depth of knowledge in community organizing and doing work directly with small business owners, both in DC and across the country. And we just cannot be more thrilled that he's joined our team to be able to help uplift your voices and to make your voices heard. So that said, Richard's going to say a few opening remarks to get us started, and we'll get into the meat of the program. Richard, take it away.
Thanks, Sean. Is it possible to make it so that I can share my video? Right now, I'm kind of just this faceless phantom. No one knows who I am. Maybe I should just. Okay, now I'm the co-host. Can I do it now?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. I must admit I was kind of enjoying being shrouded in secrecy for a bit there. That was fun. Nice to meet everybody, albeit virtually. This is a very important conversation, and you realize that I got an email, I think, from SBA a few weeks ago, and it says President Biden had 18 million new job applications come through SBA since the beginning of his presidency. That's amazing. It's record setting, and so there's a lot to celebrate around the small business community and our local economies. So you've got that one factoid in your left hand, and then on the other hand, you hear polling like from Small Business Majority, which showed that still 90% of small business owners say that access to capital is something that they worry about constantly. So I think that a key part of this conversation, or sort of the purpose of this conversation, is how do we eliminate the gulf that exists between those two realities, between the 18 million new job applications, yet still 90% of small business owners saying that capital access is a huge problem. The truth is that there are real asymmetries of information that are keeping small business owners and entrepreneurs from leading sustainable enterprises. And I have to give a shout out to SBA for carving out some space for us to connect over this, getting some FaceTime with the small business owners that really live the reality that kind of flows from policy that's created at the federal level. Yes, the conversation really does matter. And I was raised sort of coming into this work. I have a background in organizing around environmental justice. I worked a lot with business improvement districts here in DC to help revitalize certain areas of the city. And it was there that I really tapped into the power, the messaging power, the communicative power of small business owners. And so jumped at this opportunity to lead Main Street Alliance. But even before that, I was raised by a small business owner. My mom, before she was running engineering programs for historically Black colleges and universities in Atlanta, was a caterer. She ran her own catering business. And I know for a fact, because my uncle never stops talking about it, but there was a period of time where she hit a rough patch in her catering business, and he loaned her a not insignificant amount of money to keep operations going. She ended up turning that the money that she saved from that catering business into an opportunity to go and get credentialed at Virginia State University, which turned into her becoming this development director, which turned into her leading engineering programs. And what I'm saying is that small businesses um, are key for driving job creation, credentialing, and upskilling within our economy. And it cannot be underestimated. And it all starts with access to capital. It should not be that businesses like my mom's catering enterprise should have to rely on a generous uncle to stay afloat. There should be clear ways of accessing capital to help sustain some of these enterprises. So I'm hoping that today's conversation can shed some light on those asymmetries of information and give folks some real actionable resources to build into the work that they do every day. But more than anything, I just want to thank the SBA for carving out this time for us to connect and come together. Hopefully it'll be there'll be a lot more. We're really excited by this turnout. And to all the attendees, just know that this is there's 75 folks on the call right now. This is a powerful community that can drive best practice sharing. A lot of you guys already have answers to certain challenges or know how to navigate certain regulations. And so we're actively at MSA trying to figure out how do we leverage networks like this to ensure that small business owners can regularly connect, build community and kinship, and start sharing those informational resources with one another in more seamless ways. So please stay tuned to MSA and our organizational developments. And I invite you to follow our social media if you're into that sort of thing, and keep learning about us. But very, very grateful for this partnership with SBA, and hopefully a lot more to come.
Well, cool. Oh, well, thanks so much for that, Richard. We appreciate it. And with that said, I know there's some folks from the SBA who are joining the session as we speak. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to move around the agenda just a little bit just to accommodate folks to make sure that folks are able to hop on. So Sky, I'm going to call on you. And the first thing we're going to discuss here is the Investing in America program. So Sky, if you're able to go on video, I just asked you to do so. And we'll go ahead and get started. There we go. All right, Sky, take us away.
Uh, Thanks for having me. I'm actually not Sky. I'm David Brown. Hopefully, I do her proud. Sky is my fantastic colleague at SBA on the policy team. And she's currently in Boston with Administrator Guzman, who just made an exciting announcement today with Senator Ed Markey about some actions that SBA is taking to support the deployment of capital to climate financing by small businesses. So I will touch on that. But Sky, if you are here, feel free to jump in. In the meantime, I will give a few minute overview of SBA's Investing in America work. As has been discussed, small businesses have faced one hurdle after another, starting with the pandemic. Of course, there were the supply chain challenges, labor shortages, cost increases, and now we have a higher interest rate environment. Through all that, the resilience of the American entrepreneur has been remarkable. Historic creation of new small businesses, continued hiring by small businesses. We now have record employment by small businesses in America. And many of them are already or are poised to take advantage of the new investments that Congress and President Biden have made through the several historic pieces of legislation that have passed during this administration. The Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the CHIPS and Science Act. SBA under Administrator Guzman has been tracking across these bills what are the best opportunities for small businesses and how can they seize on these historic investments coming from the federal government, but which really rely on small businesses to carry them out and make sure that the growth impacts of these investments are felt at the local level. And that businesses that participate in the build out of our infrastructure, our supply chains, and in the greening of our economy, that's done by small businesses that hire locally, that reinvest their profits locally, so we can optimize the impact and make sure it's equitable across the country. So I'm going to share my screen here. If I can find the right button to do so.
I can make you a co-host, so you're
Yeah,
able to do that.
okay.
So just a moment, okay? Oh, looks like you can. Great.
All right. Okay, I'm going to back up here for a second. This is SBA's Investing in America hub. SBA.gov/IIA hub is the best way to get there. And this is our all-in-one stop for, if you're wondering, I'm a small business looking to take advantage of some of this historic legislation, what opportunities might there be for me? It's not exhaustive, it doesn't have everything, but it has the top few categories of what we think are some of the best opportunities. Here you can see we break it down through 4 categories. Right now we have home repair and construction, government contracting and subcontracting, manufacturing, and rural and agricultural small businesses. I'll start with home repair and construction. Across multiple federal agencies, there are new incentives to make homes more energy efficient. This is an opportunity for homeowners to save on their energy bills, to contribute to greenhouse gas reduction. And most of the work is going to be done by small businesses, your local plumbers, electricians, door and window installers, rooftop solar installers, heat pump installers, and the list goes on. We added up the opportunities, and in any given home, single family home in America, there could be as much as $25,000 of federal money going towards the energy upgrades of that home if the incentives are fully tapped into. Now, it varies a little bit based on the income of the homeowner and what projects may be possible in that residence. But the point is, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of subsidy and incentive for work to be done in an individual home. And 2 biggest sources of investment that we highlight here, home energy rebates. This is an opportunity coming from the Department of Energy through state energy offices around the country. The program has launched, is live and available in New York State. They were the first. There are 4 other states that are close behind. I don't have the list with me, but many others, all 50 states will be online soon. This guide walks you through what is the home energy rebates program? What are the rebates? Do they matter for my small business, et cetera? In some circumstances, based on the state, small businesses will be the one that do the work, will be the ones claiming the credit. In other cases, it may be the homeowner that claims the credit. But either way, this is a business opportunity for small businesses. If small businesses can effectively communicate the savings and the rebates to their customers, they can generate more business and they can share in the benefit of those subsidies. Some small businesses may need to scale to take advantage of these opportunities. They may need to hire, buy more equipment, and they may need more working capital to fund their projects until the rebates are available on the back end. To that end, SBA may be able to help through our working capital loans. So we highlight here how to walk through capital opportunities at SBA that may be helpful to your small business. Just as there are rebates coming from DOE, there are tax credits from IRS. All of these are available now to claim on your on individuals' tax returns. So they're available for small businesses to market to their customers today. Clicking back up, the next category is government contracting and subcontracting. The bipartisan infrastructure law is already well underway. Multiple programs that have opportunities for contracting. A few that we highlight here are the build out of high-speed internet. So small businesses that may be in the supply chains of that work or potentially available to participate in the construction, as well as small business internet service providers. We also go through all of the Department of Transportation opportunities. That is the agency with the largest investment. And if you haven't thought about contracting with the DOT, but are interested, this is a guide on how to go through and see if you might want to pursue that opportunity as a small business. Working back up, manufacturing. Manufacturing, of course, is one of the sectors that is receiving the most investment from the Invest in America agenda. That includes, of course, perhaps most notably, the construction of new semiconductor fabs across the country. Those obviously are big businesses. There are opportunities to subcontract, but there are also new incentives for small manufacturers across a variety of subsectors. One of our favorites at SBA is the IAC implementation grants. IAC is Industrial Assessment Center. It's a program that's been around for a while from the Department of Energy. There are IACs around the country where you can go and get your manufacturing facility audited for energy savings to see if there are investments you can make to save money on energy in your processes. Now, because of the recent spending by Congress, there are grants that you can apply for to implement those audit recommendations. You can get up to $300,000 as a small business. Those grants come with a requirement of a non-federal match. If you need to find a source of funds for the match, an SBA loan may be an appropriate option for you, and we walk through how you can seek capital from an SBA lender. We also go through some of the tax credits available to manufacturers there. And finally, I want to highlight, we also have a new page up on rural and agricultural businesses. Specifically, the Department of Agriculture, similar to the energy program I mentioned, there are new grants available for small businesses that want to implement sustainability or energy efficiency investments that you can apply for and get that direct grant funding from the federal government. And we walk through that opportunity here. Finally, why don't I close with something that is not on this page, and that is the announcement that Administrator Guzman made today in Massachusetts. Gonna see if I can close out. There we go. Today, SBA announced its new Green Lending Initiative. The Green Lending Initiative is an effort by SBA to support the deployment of funds through the EPA's Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. It's $27 billion made available through the Inflation Reduction Act through EPA and community lenders around the country. The goal is to support projects that will invest in the energy efficiency of transportation sector, of small businesses, homes, residences, and businesses across the country with a focus on underserved communities that would be less likely to have access to funding to make those investments. SBA is stepping up to the table with a goal of leveraging more private capital for these programs. We are issuing a call to community lenders across the country to sign up for SBA's loan programs. And by doing so, we're offering them the opportunity to guarantee their loans through SBA and secure more investor capital and lend more than they otherwise would by partnering with EPA. So it's a whole of government approach. We're excited to lend the SBA support to this priority of the administration. Happy to talk more about green lending, our support for the community projects across the country, or anything else you may wish to discuss.
Cool.
I'm seeing one question in the chat here. Does it include any waste management program? Yes, I would think so. If you have a waste management business and have an investment that you could make that would result in energy savings or otherwise would reduce greenhouse gas emissions, then that would be likely an eligible business to fund through this program.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and appreciate all the investments that this administration and Congress has worked very hard to be able to make sure folks are getting access to. We will get to the folks who are putting questions in the chat. We're going to have time on the tail end of the program to be able to address those directly. And anybody who we're not able to get to, because I do expect there's going to be a lot of questions, we'll make sure to share those with our folks at the SBA to follow up on as well. That said, Kendall, I know, has joined, and so I'm going to kick it back to Kendall to be able to both just introduce themselves, but also talk more broadly about the SBA and their efforts, and then we'll get back to the original kind of order of speakers. And so, Kendall, could you talk a bit about all the good work that the administration's doing?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for pulling this together with our partners at Main Street Alliance. You've heard from David of our policy team. The administrator is committed to small businesses, the 33 million small businesses across the United States. Since taking office, she's been committed to, of course, equity in small businesses, making sure there's a level playing field, not only in the equity space, but for small businesses as a whole. Today, you'll hear from some of our government contracting folks, our policy team. You just heard from David, and our Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. We want small businesses to take advantage of the programs, products, and services that we offer through our 68 field offices and resource partners throughout the country. There's at least one SBA office in every state, and some states have multiple offices and districts within the state. So please, reach out to us, visit the website, take advantage of our programs, products, and services as we continue to help and stand up small businesses across America. If there are any questions, feel free to send them over. We're happy to help, and we hope to partner with you and to continue to do good things with the Main Street Alliance.
Well, thank you so much, Kendall. We appreciate you and the leadership of Administrator Guzman. I know she's been all throughout the country meeting with folks and really working to make sure folks know what they have access to. And that said, we'd love to hear. So next we'll hear from Stacy Posey, who's the Senior Advisor for TAP Access, to share what programs are available through her department. Stacy?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I apologize for being off camera for this, but I'm having some tech issues at the moment. I'm happy to speak about capital programs here at SBA. Again, my name is Stacy Posey, and I'm a Senior Advisor in the Office of Capital Access. Our office oversees the flagship business loan programs. We are involved with policy implementation, refinement. We have direct relationships with SBA lenders. We provide oversight for some of our SBA lenders, and we operate the guarantee purchase and programs. We have two main products which are available for small business borrowers, our 7A program and our 504 program. We also have a surety bond guarantee program, which is tailored to assist contractors and subcontractors to be competitive in acquiring contracts and construction projects as they are competing with larger contractors. Our products are designed to help the smallest of the small businesses, but we also have a number of products that are available to businesses that have been operating successfully and are needing capital to meet certain contractual obligations, to acquire large assets, real estate. We do a lot of lending within the restaurant industry. And so we like to think that our products serve a range of needs across the small business spectrum. I couldn't help but notice that there is a question that has come up about the services that we offer for the smallest of the small businesses. So I want to take the liberty to talk about our Community Advantage program and our microloan program, which are two types of loans that fall under our 7A portfolio. And these loans are designed specifically to meet the needs of the smallest of small businesses. The average microloan is in that $13,000 range, and it meets the needs of a lot of micro enterprises. We see a lot of microloans going to childcare businesses, and we are happy to be able to meet the needs of the sole proprietors who are looking for capital to get started and to sort of meet the startup costs that are associated with a new venture. Also, our Community Advantage program, that has a loan with a bit higher limit. That loan goes up to as high as $350,000. And we are actively in real time working on expanding that loan limit. But that product is designed to meet the needs of underserved borrowers. And when we talk about underserved borrowers, those are the veteran-owned businesses, the businesses with employees who represent low-income communities, or with a business that actually operates in a low-income community that's for businesses that have been operating for 2 years or less. And that's also inclusive of women-owned businesses and a lot of those entrepreneurs who traditionally find it very challenging to secure financing in those traditional pathways. So the Community Advantage program is administered through our network of community development financial institutions, which are our mission-based, community-based lenders. They work very actively on the ground with borrowers. They provide not only capital, but technical assistance that a lot of underserved micro enterprises are in need of to be able to bring their businesses to life and to sustain them in all phases of growth. Again, I just want to reiterate our flagship loan programs are designed to be a resource for borrowers who have, for whatever reason, been unable to tap into the traditional business financing market. And we like to think that these products are a stepping stone and a pathway to truly grow the smallest of small businesses to vibrant strongholds and communities. I also want to take a quick moment to speak about our platform Lender Match, which is a phenomenal way for borrowers to connect with lenders, SBA approved lenders. Lender Match is SBA's platform that we've rolled out, which allows borrowers to create an account, provide information about their financing needs, their geographic location, a little bit about the type of business that they're operating or wanting to start, and that information will be funneled to hundreds of SBA lenders who are seeking clients and customers. And on the back end, those lenders will be able to see the information that's been provided, and if there is an appetite there to invite an application or to have further conversations with the prospective borrower, then borrowers will be matched at that point and will be able to reach out and directly communicate with lenders as to their financing needs. That is a tool that we have built over the past few years, and we are seeing thousands and thousands of borrowers logging in monthly to create accounts and to seek financing from trusted lenders. So happy to take some more questions after the presentations have been completed. But for now, just thank you again for having me, and thank you to the organizers.
Well, thank you. Deeply appreciate that. And just to reinforce with folks, we are going to share all these resources via email after the fact to make sure that you know how to access these resources. And so real quick, just going to give a moment for, I see Warren Miller pulling up, but I know Francisco Sanchez is on the road at the moment. And it looks like he's able to join us. And so we're just going to pass him off to him. He's the disaster assistance chief. And for those of you who don't know, disasters aren't just like floods and tornadoes and things like that. It can also be poor winter weather affecting businesses. For example, in northern Wisconsin, where I live, that's been a major issue that has been eligible for EIDL funding as a result. And so there's a lot of different scenarios in which disaster assistance can be a huge help to local small businesses. And so that said, I know both of you are on. Do you both want to speak, or how would you like to do this? All right, I'll pass it off.
Thanks for having us on.
Go ahead.
Thanks for having us on. I will talk a little bit about our programs, and then Warren answers questions, but appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to be here. Apologize for being in a vehicle. We're actually in the disaster space right now. We're in Florida, where we have some disasters that are ongoing. And I appreciate the introduction. So as we, for people to know perspective, currently we are on the ground, SBA, at 34 disasters across the country, across 24 states and more than 240 counties, from wildfires to floods, to tornadoes, to derechos, and also some that are response just for economic injury. I also happen to be at the National Security Conference to talk a little bit about how we can come in during, unfortunately, human-caused disasters. There are things, civil arrest, those kinds of businesses as well. But transformation of SBA's disaster enterprise, the 70-year history, incredibly important for business. So one of the things that we have done, the changes have centered around three things: customer first, technology forward, opening the paths to governors to be able to issue disaster declarations more often and easier than ever, and leading from the ground up. And so the things that are important, I think, for businesses to look at is the things that we have done to simplify that. Part of that has been finding some efficiencies and launching a new unified lending platform. Previous to this enhancement, it would take roughly about 100 days to be able to get a disaster loan approved and the money dispersed. now through the new platform. That now happens in 7 to 10 days. So we launched that in January. So seeing a lot of capital for disasters getting on the ground quicker than ever before and getting into the hands of disaster survivors. The other is a sweeping reform that was signed by SBA administrators of LACOCS last year. That now, if you get an SBA disaster loan, from the time that money is dispersed to you, you do not have to make a payment for 12 months and 0% interest accrues. Give disaster survivors the room that they need to focus on what matters most, and that is their personal recovery and their recovery as a business. Working to make sure that we're supporting rural communities. SBA's threshold is pretty low, 25 structures, major damage, 40% uninsured to be able to issue an SBA disaster declaration. But we recognize in rural communities that can still be a challenge to meet that threshold. So now, thanks to the Bipartisan Disaster Assistance for Rural Communities Act, when there is a disaster declaration for public assistance, that is, FEMA has issued a declaration, but it's not for individual assistance because it doesn't meet that threshold, but they issue public assistance declaration because enough infrastructure was damaged. Now you only need in that county for the state to give us one business or one structure that meets that threshold for us to be able to get on the ground to issue some assistance. And the other is taking a whole of SBA approach. So moving from just a lend and leave operation to being there before, during, and after disasters to help communities recover across this country by federal region. We now have regional recovery coordinators that are working with our district offices, working with our resource partners, working with chambers of commerce and in the community to help prepare businesses for disaster, but also making sure when we have to come in, because the disaster has happened, to help you navigate the whole of SBA effort. And so some exciting things on that front. It's been, for example, our reconsideration campaign. We have seen in some communities where a loan applicant for disaster has been denied for any number of reasons. Now we go back and help walk that disaster survivor and that business from getting them from a decline to a yes everywhere we can. And what that means, just to give you one example, in Selma, where we are seeing the community recover from tornadoes, we had a business that was declined. We were able to help them navigate that process and help them get from a decline to a yes. And that means going from a decline to that business having access now to $400,000 disaster lending to help them get back on their feet. And so that is just a little bit about the program. So before I close out, I do want to share what that actually means. We're helping to get communities back on their feet, tying resilience to everything that we do in recovery. But a Temple University study just came out that talked about the incredible value of seeking and getting low interest, long-term loans after a disaster. And what that study found, using 12 years of data, again, an independent study by Temple University, is that if you utilized SBA's program for low interest, long-term loans, your business was less likely to exit the market. Actually, you would, because if you got low interest, long-term capital, within a year or so, you were more likely to have more employees, to get more revenue, and you were taking on additional capital or lending, and not to survive, but you were now seeking additional lending to help grow your business, buy new equipment, and have the capital to continue to grow your business. If you did not avail yourself of low interest, long-term loans like the SBA program, you were actually more likely to exit the market, have fewer employees, and less revenue. And so that's a testament to the value that's provided by these programs. And so glad to share that, glad to be a part of the Mainstream Alliance meeting today. And thank you for having us.
Well, thank you and good luck on the road. Thanks for your service. And with that said, we're gonna open it up for Q&A at this point. I was gonna say, Warren, if you wanna go off video, and then I'll call on folks to be able to answer questions that folks might have. I see somebody comment on video. It says Thomas Kerr. You don't look like a Thomas to me. So sorry, you're on. It looks like you're muted.
My apologies. I don't even know how I ended up in Thomas Kerr's, but I thank him for that. This is Marlene Cintrón. I'm the regional administrator for SBA's Region 1 and 2. And so they had asked me to be on to talk about the field operations. And so
Okay.
if you have time and or the interest, I'll sum everything that all of these amazing SBA people have already indicated.
Yeah, but you're really how people can access a lot of those programs, right? Or be
Yeah.
able to contact somebody locally. So if you could just for a minute or two kind of give an overview of how folks can access that, that would be great.
Yeah, well, field operations is the boots on the ground, and so that it's our responsibility to reach out to our local community. We're the ones who actually meet with the small businesses and kind of lead them on to who can help them. We have a lot of partners wherever you are. And fact of the matter is that if you're a veteran, there are veteran business opportunity centers in every single state at this particular point. The difference between assistance for veterans, especially disabled veterans and other businesses, is that there are actually direct grants and direct opportunities for them to do business with the federal government. We have women's business opportunity centers in every single state. Some of them have a number of them. I know that the island of Puerto Rico, which I also cover, has 3 women's business opportunity centers. And certainly we have small business development centers. So I urge you first and foremost to go into sba.gov and register and look and see what is in our SBA website. Fact of the matter is that it is updated regularly. It is chock full of information. The first speaker spoke about the one who was allegedly Skyborg and wasn't. It was Dan Brown. We have all of the information on Invest in America in that website. Fact of the matter is that if you have an opportunity to bring down your energy costs through the use of one of those many programs that the Department of Energy, that your local state office is making available to you, certainly you can find it there. The other thing is that we urge you to reach out to the field operations office as needed, but this definitely the way to start is the Small Business Development Center. If you need an updated or a brand new business plan, if you need any kind of assistance in navigating SBA, but one piece of opportunity that I have asked you to avail yourselves of almost on a weekly basis, and that's our mentorship program. There are retired CEOs, CFOs, chief operating officers, media guys, individuals who are accountants. They're all retired from Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, and they're still willing to give back to the community, and they are there for free. So certainly avail yourself of all of the free advice through our mentors. I headed up an economic development corporation before I came to SBA, and I had one of my businesses that had a $1 million company. They distributed organic material, and after 5 years, they were at a $10 million dollar size, and that was the good news. The bad news is that somebody bought them out. But certainly all of the opportunities are there, and I urge you to reach out to us, field operations, or certainly do go into sba.gov. We're available all the time. I'm Region 1, I'm Region 2, which covers New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. I'm also currently covering the Northeast, which is Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Vermont. But we're here for you, and avail yourself of the local district offices. All those district debt directors have been around for a long period of time, and there's not much that they don't know. So please use us. That's our job, and that's our pleasure.
Cool. Thanks so much. I appreciate the work that you do to help small business owners. And we're gonna go to Q&A. I did talk with Thomas, and he said we could go 5 minutes over, because I do want to make sure we can get to a few different questions. One of which is the recent EIDL hardship program that has been put in place to help folks be able to get some relief from those loan payments. Is there somebody from the SBA's team who'd be willing just to kind of give like a very broad overview of that program and kind of how folks can access it?
I could, if we could bump that question a bit, just to give me a moment to pull that up. but I could definitely speak to that in just a few minutes.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. So I'll give you a few minutes to be able to do so. Just, I know you want to share the correct information, but it's really important in terms of being able to get access to that support as needed. During the course of the COVID pandemic, nearly $1 trillion was, or half a trillion dollars was produced in idle loans. The terms were fairly good. I mean, they were in terms of the interest rate, in terms of the repayment period, but I know a lot of folks are struggling right now with it, so that'd be great to get that information. Furthermore, there was a question in the chat, and I can speak a little bit more to the political side of this, which I know the SBA really can't because they're official government. But the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, there were a few folks asking about that in the chat. That program helped to provide grants to restaurants that were impacted and similar industries that were in that similar boat, who were impacted by the pandemic. Restaurants got hit amongst the hardest because of just the nature of their business. And there was a lawsuit that was filed because there was a preferential treatment given to minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses for the first 30 days of the program. Unfortunately, there was a lawsuit that was filed that impacted around, I believe it's about 3,000 small businesses that weren't able to get the support because of that lawsuit. That was a result of how the program was designed by Congress, plus the litigation and not action by the SBA. But I do know there's been questions that have been asked about recovered funds and whether or not some of those could be repurposed to help to backfill some of the folks who applied or were eligible but did not receive it. So I know it's a little bit of a sticky issue, but it is an important issue that's still impacting a lot of folks we work with. And so if there's anybody who'd want to just kind of give any overview of the status of that, or if there's been any possible action around that, that would be awesome.
Marlene, here is your reminder. Meeting.
I hear Alexa's giving a reminder.
No, that was me, and I'm so sorry. We're not allowed to repurpose funds that are recovered. Alexa, stop. We're not allowed to, we have to do whatever Congress tells us that we can do. They're the appropriators and they kind of do the rules. And so unfortunately, those funds are not available, but certainly we're still offering idle loans, we're still offering below market loans. And we're still guaranteeing loans through the financial institutions. And so certainly I urge anyone who is in need to reach out to the small business development centers, to reach out to the local lenders and their, whoever they're banking with, and see what they're eligible for. But also know that our mission is never to lend you so much money that you can't pay it back. And so certainly we do look at those financials and look and determine how much we can lend you to tide you over and help you and support you, but not to bring you down. And so it's good news and bad news.
We appreciate that. Other questions? I'm sorry, Stacy, are you able to speak to the idle question at this point?
Yeah, I can. And forgive me. I think I'm not sure how best to approach this. I know that there are folks in various phases of repayment, folks who are current, folks who are not. And so I want to sort of speak to this in a way that is most useful in this moment. For those of you who don't know, the SBA has a economic injury disaster loan program, and that particular loan program was expanded under COVID to include the COVID idle loans. And as of now, that program has been closed. No more loans are going to be dispersed under that program, and borrowers who do have a COVID idle loan through SBA again, are at this point in various phases of repayment. For anyone on the line or anyone who needs more information about the status of your COVID EIDL loan, or for those who may be seeking a hardship accommodation plan in terms of repayment of your COVID EIDL loan, there is a section on SBA's website on the hardship accommodation plans. I'll link it in the chat. Also, if your loan is more than $200,000, you can contact the COVID-19 EIDL assistance hotline, which I'll also type into the chat. And there's an email address as well where you can receive customer service on the status of your loan.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And another question, I'm trying my best to consolidate some of these questions on broader topics, but one from Paul asks, for loans through the lender match program, what does SBA backed mean? Do they require collateral, or are there specific credit requirements? Are they also low interest long-term loans?
Yeah, so there are varying collateral and credit requirements which are instituted by the lenders. The loans are subject to certain SBA maximums, like with regard to the interest rates. But again, we do rely on lender intermediaries to implement our programs, and so they will have their own underwriting and application processes, which will dictate certain requirements on eligibility and collateral. In terms of the microloan program, interest rates typically average between 8 and 13%. And then for Community Advantage loans, interest rates vary depending on the amount of the loan. But for a range anywhere from 4.5 to 6.5% more than the prime rate is what you can expect. On the question of SBA backing, our loans are backed by the government up to a certain percent, somewhere between 75% and up to 85% on a lot of the loans that folks on this line would be seeking. And all that means is that if for some reason a borrower defaults on an SBA loan, the SBA lender, once they've demonstrated that they exhausted all methods to recoup from the borrower, they can come back to the agency and get a reimbursement or a guarantee purchase up to a percentage. So it's an incentive for lenders to use our product, knowing that there is going to be repayment in some form or fashion if a borrower defaults.
Okay, thank you very much. This question I think is for Warren. Can you reiterate how disaster declaration is determined? They say they searched for Vermont and no declarations were showing up, even though they've had 2 major floods in the past year and FEMA was involved with it. So just, I guess, how is that determined, and how can you search whether or not your area is impacted in terms of eligibility?
So the first thing is when a disaster happens in that community, we deploy at the request of to do preliminary damage assessment. You heard Francisco mention about the SBA's numbers for our consideration for our programs is at 25. The requirements for FEMA, we will do that with the state or the local officials within those counties with our partners FEMA, and our SBA teams will go out and do this assessment. They will put forward a request back to the state for if the consideration of a declaration meet those levels. If it's determined that those levels meet FEMA from a federal declaration, then we would follow suit that opening up disaster recovery centers, us opening up business recovery centers, and there are other resources that if a declaration is determined in that particular community. But if there's an area in particular, county or what have you, that could be provided, we could research with regards to if it's a timing, it may be that they are still in determination that the state has submitted. So the first piece is that request for federal declaration has to be done by the state from the governor's office. And if you could help me with that, but those requirements are basically determined following an event and the preliminary damage assessment, making those determinations. And then FEMA, they'll do their determination and then we will, but if there's an area, be glad to look into that.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And I'm just looking through the other questions. Some of these are more specific to the individual, and so I'll make sure that follow-up happens. Sorry, and I think that, I mean, honestly, a lot of these are a little bit more focused. So I would just say, we're gonna send both the website links and resources that were discussed on this call to everyone who's joining us. In addition to that, the questions that are asked that we were not able to get to that either were more specific to the area or just we ran out of time, we'll make sure that gets over to the SBA as well. I do want to urge you to take advantage of the local resources, the small business development centers, the women's business centers. There's amazing organizations that are helping to do work that were funded through the American Rescue Plan and through the CARES Act as well. So we'll make sure that you get access to those resources. And for Main Street Alliance, we worked very hard during the COVID pandemic to make sure that folks were able to get through. And now, we have, on the one hand, 19 million business applications in the past year, I believe. This is one of the biggest booms in terms of new small businesses, but for those existing small businesses that still have the scars from the pandemic, even though, whether it was Restaurant Revitalization Fund, that lawsuit that impacted you, whether it was other circumstances, we want to make sure that we're filling the holes where they happen and that the folks are getting the support they need on a more ongoing basis moving forward. And so we'll work very hard with everyone on this call to work with Congress and the administration just to ensure that small businesses get the support they need. In the meantime, we also want to make sure that we're a connector with top officials, including many of the folks who are on this call as well today. So I just want to say thank you so much to the SBA. Thank you for the work you do every single day. Thank you for working to make sure that local Main Street small businesses across the country get the support they need. And we look forward to working with you to just make sure that folks can get access to the resources they need, that they get the information they need, and that they're able to focus on the things that they're good at, which is running their small business every day. So thank you all. Appreciate you. Again, we're going to send the link. We're going to send the recordings, and we're going to make sure you get the resources you need to be able to operate the business the way you see fit. So thank you all, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.